Hello everyone, this is Peter Tadros. I'm a senior PowerApps developer. In today's video, we'll be working on a solution for SharePoint list data into Power BI reports. The problem was that when the SharePoint list data got big and it became over 200,000 items, almost 300,000 items, the refresh started to fail. And this is the error that it came up 429 too many requests. I found out that this error message coming through the SharePoint list connector throttling, which used to happen once the SharePoint connector reached the call limit. So that came with the version 1 connector in Power BI when you're connecting SharePoint list. So there would be two options, version 1, version 2. So this is the default version 1 that we used to use all the time. So in this video, we'll be talking about three of the solutions. Some of them are okay, some are better than the others. So I will just review them and I'll show you what's my favorite and what's the one I'm using. It is the REST API and it is mind-blowing. You would want to change your reports into that to save your workspace and all the loads on it. So stick around, we'll go through the three solutions right now. First solution is the version 2. So if you would get data, SharePoint list data, you'd click on Online Services, SharePoint Online List, Connect, and you'll be prompted for two options. The version 1 for the connector version 1.0. This is not the best one. This is the slowest. I would not recommend it. I would recommend if you don't want to go through any other solutions, just take the version 2. It's slightly better. It's faster. Although this solution did not perform as we wanted to do. So I'll show you. So this solution failed around 700,000 items and it took 1 hour, 32 minutes when we're trying to test with a list over 1 million items. So it did not really do what we wanted to do. So I had to look for other solutions, and the second solution comes in, which is the function invoke after in Power BI. This succeeded for the 1 million items, and it took 40 minutes. Much better than the first solution. Not great at the time, but still, it was much better than SharePoint Connector version 1 and 2. I'll show you how this looks like. So this is the, let's jump to the edit query. And I'll go to the advanced editor. And this is how it looks like. So the source will be the function invoke after, and you'll add your SharePoint site URL. And this is the API version 15. And here's the duration where the connector will retry the connection after it fails after this amount of time that you set here. So this is set for 1 second. You can change this to the amount of time that you'd like, but this is what it will do. It will just retry after it fails, which is good, and that was, a solution for the problem where when the refresh would fail and then will stop by then, but the invoke after function made it retry again until it succeed. It took a little longer, but wasn't a big deal. At least the refresh didn't fail. So that's it for the solution. The third solution is the REST API. This is the best of them all. I started adding this solution to all my Power BI reports that's using SharePoint lists data. And before we jump into the third solution, let's take a look at this document really quick. So this is the documentation about the REST API. REST API, for who is not familiar with, it's a service that you can call the SharePoint data or SharePoint site servers from whatever interface that allows this. So it's an HTTP request. You can get your SharePoint data into your interface. And that's what we're going to be using with Power BI today. So we're not using the SharePoint connector, the default that came with the Power BI, but we're going to be leveraging this solution instead. And we're going to be using the get for HTTP request and site URL API, and we're gonna be getting get by title, list name, or you can also get by ID or GUID, but I'm just gonna use this one. And it's a good document. I'll be adding the link in the description. This is what we're going to be doing exactly, work with lists and list items. So there is a lot of explanation here on how to use it. I'd recommend go take a look at it. It was useful for myself. So that's get by title. And if you keep scrolling, uh, this is what we're going to be doing, retrieving all list items. And so there's a lot of nice details here about the REST API. So, all right, I'll move to the Power BI desktop to show you how it looks like. So I'll jump to the edit query and I'm going to the advanced editor. All right, so it will start with two variables that we're going to declare in here. So one is the site link and one is the list name. You may choose to add them or not if you're not going to add them in here. So you just have to repeat this data all over. If not, then you can just reference the variable. And then this will be doing a couple of calls. The first call will be to go to the SharePoint list and count its items, how many items in there. And that's what we're going to be doing in here with the web contents. I'll also share the document about this nice feature here. And then we're going to be converting that into a JSON document. And once we get how many items in the SharePoint list, we'll have to split them by 5,000 because that's the limit for this REST API. We'll get 5,000 items at the time. So we're going to be creating a table with a couple of columns. One it's called the start ID. Then we'll start with 0 and as the first row, and then the end ID will be 5,000 to each row. So as you can see here, the end ID will have 4,999 items to it each time. And we're going to be converting into a table, and we're going to be renaming the columns and changing its type into text so we can send this into the REST API query. And then this is the calls for the items. So we'll be calling each 5,000 rows or each 5,000 items for that specific row. So then it will be ID greater than or equal the start ID column that we have, and less than or equal the end ID column that we have. And then we're accepting application JSON. Again, its value again as a JSON document. And then we're gonna have we called it list items, and then we can expand that into whatever the columns that we want to show. And this step here, the selected fields, it's needed in the query. So we'll be defining, in my case, I wanted to show all the columns. So I selected all of them, and it's for the top 5,000 that we're getting. And these are the person or group columns. So the author, it's the created by its author. And so you'll need in my case, I wanted the title, which is the display name. You can get the email and so on. We have a column, it's called person in this list. So I also want the title and email. And this is person multiple for multiple people. I also want the title and the email. Also, you can add all the columns that you'd like, as in lookup columns or choice column. So you just have to add the column also in here, the column name. So as you notice, I have the author, I have the person, and I have the person multiple. So you can expand them in here, and then you have to reference them in here again. And this is it. So let's see how it works. So we just need that specific column. We don't need the start ID and the end ID anymore. We need the list items column. And then if you click on here, you find all the columns that you can expand. So select whatever you want. You can select them all at once. And these are for the author. So click on each of these person columns and just deselect and select only the fields that you like. And this is the final look. So let's go ahead and build one really quick. All right, so I opened a new report and I'm gonna start by get data and I'm going to get a blank query. And so also a quick tip here, if you already have your report, like myself, I had everything set, I had visuals and the report had many pages. So what I did is I just went to the edit query and for the SharePoint source that I had, like in here, for example, all the lists, I did not recreate the report. What I did is I changed just this. So I removed what was there. I changed, it's just one time work, but then the results are amazing for all the reports. So I changed into my SharePoint site and list, and I completed these steps. I defined the exact columns that I want to expand, and I renamed some of the columns to match what I had previously, and that was it. So in this case, we'll be building a blank query, just so we can go through the steps really quick. I'm going to go to the advanced editor, and I'm just gonna copy and paste what I had. So in the source, we have the site link and I have the list, and this is going to be list name, and okay, we're done. And then I can build also on top of that. So before we get further, I want to share a document about the web content. This document here is also very helpful. If you don't know this feature in Power BI, I'll be sharing the link in the description. Here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to add a URL and optional options. So we're going to be adding the relative path and the headers. So there's a nice explanation about this function on this document. All right, getting back to the Power BI desktop. So I'll insert the next step after, and we will count the items in this list. And this is going to be, so we counted the item of the list we're going to be working on, and it's 6,500,000 items. So this is going to be as in the web.content site link, relative path. This is the API query, API web list, get by title. This is our list name, and we're going to be getting items from there, selecting from the items just the ID column, and a string ordered by ID, %20 encoded space, because you can just leave a space here, and descending, the order we're getting into, and top we're getting from the first one. Headers, we're going to accept the application JSON, and then its value in the first and the ID column, and we're going to be converting this into a JSON document, so it's all together, and this is what we got. This is the results. I'm just going to be calling this count list items. Cool. And insert step after. In this step, we're going to be rounding up the count list items by 5,000, and this is going to create a list. So list of numbers, so it starts from 0 to 5,000. So see each row, it took 5,000 to it. But then the next step we want to, before I move to the next step, I want to rename this into the start ID. And the next step, we're going to convert this into a table. So I'm just going to convert it to a table, and as is. All right, so convert it to a table so I can add another column, and I'm going to add a column, custom column, and I'm going to for each of this column that we have. Plus 4,999 items, and that's it. Cool. So this is the added column, and I'm going to call this int ID. All right, so next step, let's go ahead and rename these two columns here. So I'm going to rename this into start ID, and the second one will be end ID. Oops. Cool. Next step, I'm going to convert it into a text type of column, both of them. So can change type, text, and same will go for the other column. Oh, there's one step that I forgot. So if I'm going for the end ID column, uh, I need to change the type into a number. So I'm just gonna type it here. So type will be number. So then we can add to it. Whoops. Type will be number, and then we changed it here to text. So I'm going to insert step after, and I will add the selected fields. So the selected fields, we added the top 5,000, select all the columns, and author. I just copied from what I had before, and I'm going to rename this into selected fields. All right, next step is calling the items in the SharePoint list. In this step, we're adding another column to this table. It's called list items. And for each, we're going to be getting the 5,000 items from the SharePoint. So for each, it's a JSON document, the web contents, site URL, relative path, same query, list name, items, and then we're going to be doing some changes in here. So we're going to add a filter for the ID column greater than or equal the start ID column that we had, and the ID column less than or equal the end ID column that we have, that specific row. And then the selected fields that we defined, headers, accept, application JSON, and we want the value in JSON format. This may take a second to load the data, and then we're gonna be renaming this to list items. Nice. So it loaded for us the 5,000 items as a list. So if you go in any of them, I will show you there. It's a record for each of the rows. All right, so I'm going to be renaming this step into list items. And I'm gonna remove the other columns. So right click on list items column and remove other columns. Cool. And then click on these two little arrows here and expand to new rows. Once again, to select the columns that we had. So I'm going to get them all, although you don't have to. So you can just skip whatever the columns you don't need. In this case, I'm just gonna get them all. And there you go. So all the columns of the list, the columns you expanded, like the author, it came as records and you need to expand this. So same thing, click here and I'm just gonna select the title, email, click OK. And here's our names. So sweet. And that's it. So once you do this, close and apply. And let's see how long it will take until it loads the data. So it will load into 5,000. So each call is 5,000. So once it starts, So as you can see, 4,999, and the second call will be 9,000, and so on. So I'll fast forward, and we'll see how long it took. All right, so it took 6 minutes to complete 100,000 items. Uh, I can't get any better than that. So I'm good with that. It's an awesome solution, and I would advise you guys use this. So let's just put a quick table, see the columns that it got or the rows that it got. Uh, so I'm just gonna look at the ID really quick. Let's make this into a whole number so we can sort it. All right, so 6,600,000 items. Sweet. Oh, one more tip, and then we're going to publish this report. You can expand this column. It's field values as text. This, if you have like a column with multiple lines of text, the HTML or something, and you just want to extract only the text, you can do that, or for the multi-person column as well. So I'll show you. All you have to do is just add it. So if you go back to the advanced editor, and I will add the column in here. So I will add it as the first one, and it's field values as text, and then slash the column that I want to expand. And this list, we have a column for multiple lines of text. It's called multiple lines text. I guess it's called this, and then a comma. And I'll need to add this column in here. Oops, not cut, not copy. I will add it in the expand here. So this, and then a comma. And I will also reference this column right here, since we expanded already. So I'm just gonna add it as the first one. So come here, and then I will add it. Or you can do the expand again. So I'm going to add it in here, and I'm also going to add it in the renaming. So where does this end? Let's see. Slash from here and ends here. So it's going to be the first column as well. So I'm just gonna add it and comma, separate it, and done. All right, here we have it. So I can also expand this and get the column that we want it to expand, and it's multiple lines of text. I didn't need this, but I just made it to show you. But this is just a plain text column. You can do this in the case if you want to get the plain text of HTML, or for whatever the reason you want. I just thought to show you this. So that's it. Let's publish this report. All right, so I'm gonna publish this. I will need to save it first. And I'm gonna give this report a name. It's called REST API report. And I'm gonna choose the workspace. So I'm gonna do the dev report, select, and it's creating the data set and the reports for us. And let's go. Once this succeeds, we'll go take a look at it. So there's only one thing I wanted to mention. That's why I wanted to publish the report and show you. So there's just a couple of steps that you need to do for the first time once you publish this REST API solution into the workspace. So you'll need to log in or edit your credentials. The second thing is you'll need to skip the test, and I'm going to show you this in a second. All right, so it's success. Got it. Let's move to the workspace. I'll refresh. Cool. And it created our data set and our report. So REST API report. And so let's jump into the settings. All right, so this is the first thing. Edit credentials. So you need to click in here and add your credentials, and it will be the authentication 2, organizational. And that is the second thing that I wanted to mention. You'll need to click on this, skip test connection, sign in, and that is it. So once you're logged in, you can go ahead and edit your refresh, and you don't have to do this for next time. So good to go. And that's it. So I hope this was helpful for some that facing this throttle issue for bigger SharePoint list. Uh, I've tested this with a list over 1 million items, probably 1,200,000 items. Um, I haven't tested it for 10 million items or so, but if you've done that, let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any questions about this video, let me know in the comments, or if you have any suggestions for future videos about Power Platform, anything Power Apps, Power Automates, Power BI, please let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching, and I hope you liked this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.